Hello, welcome back. So in one of my recent videos, I talked about how I sold my first Chanel handbag. It's the Chanel 19 in the small size in tweed pattern for this bag. So I just want to sit down and do a review video with you. So the official name of this bag is the Chanel XXL travel flap. I think it's airline travel flap or is it travel flap? I'm not quite sure. But it first came out in 2016 in the spring 2016 collection. They had a whole runway show with the luggage and airport theme, and the special feature of this bag is that it's got this back kind of pockets where you can open up the zipper and just put this through. They slide it through the handles of the luggage. But the feedback has been that it's made more for the Chanel luggage, and if you have a removable suitcase, it might be pretty tight to pull this one through the removable handles. So ever since it came out in 2016, it's been a seasonal piece. It's been sensational at the time because it's been the largest ever classic flap that Chanel ever made. People went crazy over it, and also the fact that it's so slouchy, the look and feel of it, even though it's a classic flap, it's also very different from a classic flap. For example, the leather is very different. It's not the standard caviar leather. This one is made of a grain calfskin, which is supposed to be a caviar, but it's a very soft caviar. It's a soft grain calfskin, which gives it the very slouchy look. And it's also obviously a single flap, right? There is no double flap, which makes sense. If this bag were to be a double flap, it would be super, super heavy. So the appearance of this bag just looks like a very large, blown up, comical classic flap. But Chanel doesn't produce this every year. I think it came out in 2018, 2019, and I think it came back in 2021 as well. After 2021, this exact size has never been produced again. In 2023, I think they did bring back the smaller size of the XXL, which I think is technically called the XL. So it's the 15-inch version. It is a smaller bag and it doesn't achieve the slouchy effect as easily. So personally, I like this version better because it's just so exaggerated. You can't miss it. There's no ambiguity. The 15-inch one is maybe a bit more reasonable, so it's not as exaggerated. It doesn't have as much of a comical effect. So I guess it depends on what you're looking for. So for me, this is absolutely the size that I want. So this one measures depending on how you measure it, but the official measurement is, I believe, 18.2 or 18.3 inches, but that's when they measure it from the bottom. If they measure all the way across the bottom to the point of the curve, then it's about that, 18.2, give or take. But if you were to measure in the front from this end to this line right here, it's really just about 17 inches. Because it's so slouchy, it's actually pretty difficult to measure correctly or accurately, and different people have different ways of different points of stopping their measurement. So I would just say the height is roughly about 12 inches, but give or take, right? And then the side is probably about, I actually forgot what the side was, but I'll just pop that on the screen. So it is a fairly large bag, but large bags are coming back. I don't know if it ever went away because we modern women have always needed large bags, right? We need it for work or as a mom or just for everyday convenience. we need to sometimes carry quite a few things with us. So a large bag has always been a pretty good wardrobe staple. And plus, it's such a fashion statement. So I'm not sure the large bag trend ever went away, but the small bag trend, because it's been so popular over the past like years, it's kind of muted the conversation around large bags because everybody's been talking about small bags and micro bags. But I'm kind of over the small bag trend. So now in my previous video, I did talk about the inspiration of buying this bag. It was from a Canadian YouTube influencer named Nikki Sky, and she bought one of these bags in the chevron pattern and the ruthenium hardware. I thought it looked so chic on her that I just had to have one day. So I also thought about purchasing this bag in the chevron pattern and the ruthenium hardware, because there are some of those listings on resale websites that feature the chevron pattern, and they typically go for less than the classic diamond patterns. And the ruthenium hardware sometimes do also go for less than the gold hardware. So you are saving yourself some money there if you like those combinations. Some ruthenium hardware, when it's on the right bag, I think is absolutely gorgeous. For example, I recently saw a YouTube video where someone got a limited edition Chanel bag. I think it's from like 2014. This bag is very special. It's got this knitted pattern and it's covered in a layer of kind of leather coating. And the leather is very kind of shiny, almost appears like a bit of patent, but not the shiny patent, but it's got this like kind of coating on top of the knitted pattern of the bag. I think that's a really great combination because it's got the gunpowder masculinity, and because of the knitting pattern that's being shown through, it looks almost like an embroidery, and that gives the bag a very feminine appearance. So with that balance of the femininity and the masculinity, and the leather balance of the really black coating and the ruthenium gray, I thought that was just a gorgeous combination. So okay, back to this bag. If you are to consider buying this bag, there are a few things to look for. I think Chanel has made a change between the earlier versions of this bag in like 2016 and the later versions starting 2018 and onward, right? So the first one of this bag that I tried on was the earlier version produced in 2016. And let's leave aside the hardware, but that one has a different kind of support system on the sides. As you can see here, the chains are pulling on this this knob. It kind of swivels. So this is attached to the side, as you can see here, and this is a metal kind of mechanism, right? And it's the same on both sides. And that particular bag, produced in 2016, had only a tiny kind of leather strip, leather hook that was hooking the chains on both sides. So instead of this like metal mechanism that swivels, it's got a metal strip. So I think this mechanism is definitely more sturdy than the leather strip. This is what holds the entire weight of this bag, which can be heavy when you have it filled up, right? So you want the most steady mechanism, which I think this one is. This one is from 2018, by the way. And the other difference is the inside lining. In 2016, the bags are mostly lined with a mesh nylon kind of lining. It really didn't feel very luxurious. When I first opened it up, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, has this been refurbished? It just didn't feel like something Chanel would make because it's just a mesh lining. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe maybe the mesh lining is even lighter than these fabric, or maybe it's waterproof, it's easy to clean, easy to wipe. I don't know, but I think a fabric lining is already pretty light and pretty kind of stain proof or waterproof. You can pretty much wipe it with any soapy water without any problem. So I don't understand why they made it with the mesh lining to begin with. So those are the two major differences that I noticed between the older versions of this bag and the newer version. So when you're looking at online resale platforms, they may not always show you the side mechanism for the hook. But you can probably guess it just by the year that it was made. And the other difference that I noted that doesn't have to do with the year is the hardware. It's entirely a choice. Now we talked about ruthenium and gold hardware, but even within gold hardware, there is a difference between the shiny gold hardware and this one is the pale brushed gold. The first one I tried on was in the shiny gold hardware, and what I thought at first was that the shiny gold was really shiny, and on such a large bag, it almost looked a little bit tacky because that particular bag was showing some scratches, and because it's such a large surface, right? And if you have a shiny gold hardware, it's probably pretty easy to show scratches, and they were just showing pretty prominently on the CCs. And because it's so shiny, it just looked a little tacky, and it looked almost like it could be a fake. I would advise you getting a non-shiny gold hardware for such a big bag. So there is the pale brush gold. I think there could be an antique gold hardware, which would be my preferred choice. I think I'm not 100% sure they made this in antique gold, but I think if they did, it would be the best hardware choice for this particular bag, in my opinion. I think overall the gold hardware is pretty tasteful on this particular bag. So how I plan to use this bag is as more of a work bag, and that is because what sold me on this bag is this inner kind of compartment. So there are two compartments to this bag, right? Separated by this kind of cardboard feeling partition, and I would just slot my laptop in here. And it's a pretty wide bag, so pretty much any laptop would fit pretty easily, and it would just be close to my body, so the bag, the laptop doesn't swim around in a large bag, which can happen in some of the larger kind of tote bags, which is what I hate, because when you get a large bag, you like the idea that it can fit your laptop and it can fit tons of other stuff too. But then at the same time, your laptop is swimming in the bag, which is really annoying. There is this main compartment which fits everything else you're gonna need. So, I might need to carry nice shoes with me to change into in the office because I might want to wear sneakers when I'm walking there. And there are still two slots that you can slot your phone in, but most of the time actually I just slot my phone at the back pocket right here, so it's super convenient. But you can slot your phone there if you want. You can slot your wallets, card holders, or other miscellaneous items. And there is also a zipper compartment for anything that's more secretive. I put a microfiber cloth in here just in case I get caught in the rain and I need to wipe down the surface of the bag. Like I don't think it's a big problem if this bag gets caught in the rain. This material feels pretty hardy. You can just wipe down the water. There would be no problem, I think. So I also recently noticed that Saint Laurent YSL has a similar sized bag that's a lot like this one. It's called the Jamie 4.3 in the kind of large version. This dimensions are fairly similar. It's probably a tiny little bit smaller than this, but it's basically the same thing. It's also a very gorgeous bag. It also has that slouchy effect, the oversized effect, but that one only has one single compartment, and that one is retailing for $4,400. So I just wanted to mention that in case some of you may be looking for similarly sized bags, but not necessarily from Chanel. So other brands do have similar options as well. As for pricing, this one is actually pretty expensive in the resale market. There's a number of factors that contribute to that, right? The classic flaps, we all know, have gone up in price exponentially over the past few years, ever since like 2019. So now the classic flaps are, you know, all the way up there, and this being a very large classic flap, is always going to command similar value. And the second factor is that the unavailability, right? Because it's not being produced every year. It's a seasonal piece. You don't know when Chanel's going to bring it back for another season. The pieces out there are really what you have right now, and there isn't that much inventory. There are a lot of classic flaps in the small and medium size, but there is just a handful of these XXL travel flaps. The classic flaps are also massively replicated by the fakes, counterfeits. So there's a much higher risk of getting something that's not authentic. This one is definitely not as much replicated, especially in the larger size. I wanted to see what the dupes look like to make sure that I'm not buying a super fake. I actually couldn't find any examples of the super fake versions of this one. So that also gives you a higher degree of confidence, I think. Now, most of these bags go for around $8,000 to $9,000. I purchased this one for $7,500 off of Real. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that when it was being listed, the inside lining of this bag was kind of stained, or it was photographed as being stained and a little dirty inside. You can see on the photograph that there were, you know, some marks inside, and that was in their description as well. When you read the description, it actually makes you feel like maybe you don't want this bag. But luckily this bag was in the Soho location, so I actually popped down to the store and looked at it in person, and when I looked at it, the stains didn't look that permanent to me. It felt like it could be removed, so that's how I got comfortable buying it. And when I got home, I took a microfiber cloth with some kind of light soapy water and just started wiping everything. I even took the fabric lining out, you know, on the parts that you can take out. This part, you can take the entire lining out, and I just gave the bag an entire kind of wipe down, right? So all the stains and all the marks came out. So now it's basically good as new on the inside anyways. And even on the outside, these bags are pretty scratch resistant because the leather is, you know, green calfskin. It's pretty hardy leather. On all of the, well, on both bags that I tried on, I've examined the corners pretty closely. I examined the bottoms. Well, there are feet on the bottom. Not that I think they really help that much because it's so slouchy. Even if there are feet, some of these leather parts are going to touch the bottom anyways. But as you can see, the corners are completely clean. There's no wear or scratches on the surface of the leather that I can tell on both of the bags that I saw. So I think it just has to do with the fact that this is a green calfskin. It's just a very scratch resistant leather. It's basically like caviar, but a soft caviar. So it's actually a bag that's great for everyday use if you don't think it's too heavy. On the weight, it is a little heavy, I'll admit, it's heavier than a Deauville tote, for example, because I did try on both the Deauville tote and this bag at the same time. This is noticeably more heavy. However, it's not as heavy as you might think because it is a single flap. It is lined with fabric on the inside. It is also a very soft leather, so it's not as heavy as your regular caviar leather. So this does help the bag. I actually carried it on some shopping kind of day trips, and I was carrying the bag for the entire day. It was completely fine. I even put my shopping bags inside. I mean, they do get a little heavier when you've bought heavy stuff. For example, I bought 2 pairs of jeans that day, and jeans are pretty heavy. So when you fill it up with heavy stuff, it's of course going to be much heavier, but I was still able to carry it the entire day. And authentication, right? I did get this bag authenticated by Zico, though I will say that this bag didn't come with authenticity card, and it didn't even come with the dust bag, which I kind of wanted the dust bag more than I wanted the authenticity card, because let's be honest, if this is a super fake and they can achieve this level of super fake, I'm sure they can achieve an authenticity card that's just as authentic as the real authenticity cards. So I don't believe in kind of having the authenticity card, but it does have the original stickers inside, which really helps with authentication. So that was more important for me than the authenticity card. The dust bag, I really wanted a dust bag because it's such a large bag, and if I'm not wearing it, I want to be able to store it away. And of course, I want the original Chanel dust bag, but I was able to find one off of eBay, and I purchased it for, I think, $60. It's kind of expensive for a dust bag, but I mean, it was the only one available in this size, so I purchased it. But who knows if this dust bag is even real, right? They're pretty easy to fake, I think. You just get some of these linen kind of cloths, and you go find a manufacturer that prints the name Chanel. I'm sure anyone can do it, and you pull a drawstring through it. Like, honestly, I don't have 100% confidence over how authentic this dust bag is, but I don't really care. It looks good enough to me. It feels good enough to me. I think that's all that matters. I don't know why people don't clean their bags when they sell them. They probably just assume that the resale platforms were going to just clean them before they photograph. They 100% don't. They really don't. I've seen many bags with stains and marks and dirt that can just be really easily taken out, but they just don't do it. And if you find one of those bags and you see them in person and they're listed for a lower price, well, feel free to get it. It's a deal. So that's it for my review video on this XXL travel flap. I really like it. It's a collector's items for me. I would probably never sell it unless they bring this model back in the store. I might want to purchase one from the boutique and sell this one if they do that. But other than that, I will always have this item in my collection of Chanel bags. And other variations of this bag I've seen are the velvet version. I think I've seen one online where they have the dark blue velvet with some very subtle tracings of the camellia flower over the velvet. Absolutely gorgeous. Sometimes they do have these like special versions of the bag. I think they also came in jersey. So it's definitely a collector's item if you come across one of those. Alright, so that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!